సో మీరు మీ యొక్క బ్యాచిలర్స్ డిగ్రీలో ఉన్నప్పుడు సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద స్కిల్స్ యూ గెయిన్?
సో బేసిక్లీ వీ వర్ గివెన్ ఆల్వేస్ అ ప్రాబ్లమ్. ఆ ప్రాబ్లమ్ని ఐడియేట్ చేసి సొల్యూషన్ వచ్చాక ఆ సొల్యూషన్ని ఏ ఫార్మాట్లో అయినా రిప్రజెంట్ చేయడం అనేది ద ఫ్రీడమ్ వాస్ గివెన్ టు ద స్టూడెంట్.
ఏ సాఫ్ట్వేర్లో కానీ లేకపోతే ఏ టూల్లో మీరు మీ యొక్క పోర్ట్ఫోలియో బిల్డ్ చేశారు?
I started compiling my work in like a basic PowerPoint, and then I went to PDF. So combine of work and PDF lo petti whenever someone asked it, I used to give it to them. So I think format should never be a limitation. Just portfolio is nothing but a way to show your collection of your projects and your ideas and thoughts.
ఎవరైనా సరే ఒక ఫ్రెషర్గా డిజైన్గా నేర్చుకుంటున్నారు అనుకోండి, సో వాళ్ళు ఇంటర్న్షిప్ చేయడం ఇంపార్టెంట్ కదా?
So if you know that internship is for 3 months, you can explore that particular domain for 3 months. 3 months తర్వాత నచ్చకపోతే it's an internship, so it will end in some days.
సో ఆల్రెడీ మీరు మీ యొక్క ఎన్ఐడిలో మీరు 2 years అయితే కంప్లీట్ చేశారు. సో ఈ యొక్క 2 yearsలో లైక్ వాట్ ఆర్ ద స్కిల్స్ యూ గెయిన్?
In every semester we have something called design project, which is about like 8 to 10 weeks. So in those weeks you are free to explore whatever problem that you like.
According to you, like how is NID learning experience different from other institutes?
The way the curriculum of NID is structured is very different from other institutes.
Apart from Adobe, like మీరు ఇంకా ఏమేం కంపెనీస్ అప్లై చేశారు for the internship?
I was fortunate enough to get selected at several companies including Samsung, Bajaj Finserv, ServiceNow, Disney Plus Hotstar, Info Edge and Adobe.
Can you share your interview experience for the Adobe internship?
What stood out was they were wanting to know about me more than my portfolio, and they were also wanting to see my design thinking and my my journey of starting with the problem and towards the solution. So they were seeing a lot of my design process.
Recently UI UX design నేర్చుకోవడం స్టార్ట్ చేశాడు అనుకున్నా. So like what is the best piece of advice you will give to him? సో ఇన్ కేస్ మీరు డిజైనర్ అయినా లేదా వీడియో క్రియేటర్ అయినా లేదా మీరు స్టూడెంట్ అయినా సరే ఖచ్చితంగా మీ యొక్క లైఫ్లో మీరు అడోబ్ ప్రోడక్ట్ యూజ్ చేసే ఉంటారు. సో ఎప్పుడైనా మీరు ఆలోచించారా ఈ యొక్క అడోబ్ ప్రోడక్ట్స్కి యూజర్ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ ఎవరు క్రియేట్ చేస్తారు, అలాగే మీకు మంచి యూజర్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఎవరు ఇస్తారని? సో ఈ యొక్క ప్రోడక్ట్స్కి మంచి యూజర్ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ అలాగే మంచి యూజర్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఇచ్చేది ఎవరు అంటే UI UX డిజైనర్స్. సో ఈ పాడ్కాస్ట్లో అడోబ్లో వర్క్ చేస్తున్న ఒక UI UX డిజైన్ని గెస్ట్గా తీసుకొని వచ్చాను. సో ద గెస్ట్ ఫర్ టుడేస్ పాడ్కాస్ట్ ఈస్ ప్రత్యూష. సో ప్రత్యూష షీ ఈజ్ వర్కింగ్ యాజ్ అ UI UX డిజైనర్ అట్ అడోబ్. సో ఈ వీడియోలో తన యొక్క ఎంటైర్ జర్నీని అయితే తెలుసుకోబోతున్నాం. సో మీరు కనుక UI UX డిజైన్ ఎంతూసియాస్ట్ అయితే ఈ పాడ్కాస్ట్ని ఎండ్ వరకు చూడండి. సో వితౌట్ ఎనీ ఫర్దర్ అడ్యూ లెట్స్ గెట్ స్టార్టెడ్. సో ప్రత్యూష, వెల్కమ్ టు ద పాడ్కాస్ట్.
Hi Joshua, thanks for having me.
నేను కూడా నీకు థ్యాంక్స్ చెప్పాలి, ఎందుకంటే ఐ నో యు ఆర్ ప్రిటీ బిజీ, కానీ ఈ యొక్క బిజీ టైంలో మీరు మా కోసం మీ యొక్క వాల్యుబుల్ టైంని మాకు ఇచ్చినందుకు థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్.
No worries, I'm actually super excited ఈ కాన్వర్సేషన్ కోసం. సో లెట్స్ గెట్ స్టార్టెడ్. ఇంకా
నేను కూడా చాలా ఎక్సైటెడ్, ఎందుకంటే ఐ వాజ్ యూజింగ్ దిస్ అడోబ్ ప్రొడక్ట్స్ ఫర్ ద పాస్ట్ 4 to 5 years. సో నేను ఎప్పుడు ఇమాజిన్ చేయలేదు ఇట్లాగే అడోబ్లో వర్క్ చేస్తున్న ఒక డిజైనర్తో పాడ్కాస్ట్ చేస్తానని. ఐఎమ్ ఆల్సో రియలీ ఎక్సైటెడ్. సో లెట్స్ డైరెక్ట్లీ జంప్ ఇన్ టు ద పాడ్కాస్ట్. ఫస్ట్ ఈ పాడ్కాస్ట్ని మీ యొక్క బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్తో స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం. సో కెన్ యూ బ్రీఫ్లీ ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ అబౌట్ టు అవర్ ఆడియన్స్?
Sure. First of all, I hope everyone's doing great, and I am Lakshmi Prathyusha. I am from Hyderabad. My schooling is from Kendriya Vidyalaya. Since childhood, I was very passionate about design and I wanted to pursue that as a career. So, andake na bachelor's is in BTech in digital design. And my majors was in visual communication design. I studied that from School of Planning and Architecture, or also called as Jawaharlal Nehru Architecture and Fine Arts University in Hyderabad. And my bachelor's time lo we were encouraged to do a lot of internships related to our subject. So I was interning every semester at some startup or some company, and I was mainly interning as a UX designer and graphic designer mainly. Post graduation నేను graphic design నుంచి interaction design కి transition అయ్యాను, and my first job was as a UX designer at a startup in the field of AI and ML. So I was designing products related to that field. And appude I decided that I need to gain a deeper understanding about what I'm doing. So interaction design gurinchi deep ga telusukundamani I decided to pursue my masters. Currently I'm in the last semester of my masters, pursuing my masters in design and interaction design from NID Bangalore. So that's about me.
Pratyusha, like మోస్ట్లీ మన యొక్క ఏపీ కానీ లేకపోతే తెలంగాణలో సో ఎవరైతే ఇంటర్మీడియట్ కంప్లీట్ చేస్తున్న వాళ్ళు ఉంటారో సో మోస్ట్లీ దే విల్ చూస్ బీటెక్ ఆర్ బీఎస్సీ ఆర్ బీకామ్. చాలా తక్కువ మంది డిజైన్ ఫీల్డ్ని అయితే చూస్ చేసుకుంటారు. సో మీరు మీ యొక్క డిజైన్ ఫీల్డ్ని చూస్ చేసుకోవడానికి మీ యొక్క మోటివేషన్ ఏంటి, లేకపోతే మిమ్మల్ని ఏం ఇన్స్పైర్ చేసింది టు గెట్ ఇన్ టు దిస్ డిజైన్ ఫీల్డ్?
So, నేను కూడా I was a MPC student in my intermediate. I did my intermediate from Narayana Junior College. Since I was very curious since childhood. Chinnapudi nunchi I was always questioning and everything and anything around me. And I still remember Chinnapudi I had a urge of knowing why are there only 26 alphabets? Like what happens to the 27th one? Why is no one like talking about it? Or can someone design it? And ala chinna questions, pedda questions ayyayi, and I was always curious and I was a problem solver. I started my interest grew from architecture to graphic design. I thought of doing architecture, and I was thinking that is something which is related to design ante architecture anukune danni. So I was introduced to graphic design during my intermediate, and I was very passionate about it. Even after taking MPC, so even as a designer we need subjects of maths, physics and chemistry. It's no different from being a science student. So post that I wrote MSET. I got a rank enough to get selected for School of Planning and Architecture, and there I was introduced to this unique course called Digital Techniques for Design and Planning. So this is a very new and hybrid course where we are taught subjects of design alongside computer science, other subjects like GIS and architecture basics. So my majors was in visual communication design, and I was a multimedia student. Visual communication design is basically design which comprises of designing for various media formats like graphic design or filmmaking. Or I was also at some point of my career I was also doing VFX, but a very basic part of it. But akkadi nunchi I started paving my career into design, and that is how I got into design.
Pratyusha, like మీరు ఇప్పుడు చెప్పారు కదా, సో యు ఆర్ ఇంట్రడ్యూస్డ్ టు గ్రాఫిక్ డిజైన్ ఇన్ ద ఇంటర్మీడియట్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్. సో అంటే మీ యొక్క డిజైనింగ్ అనేది మీ యొక్క ఇంటర్మీడియట్ లోనే స్టార్ట్ చేశారా, లేదా మీ యొక్క బ్యాచిలర్స్కి వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత మీరు స్టార్ట్ చేశారా?
So I feel anything and everything is design. Like from a very small idea to a very big project, the way we design our day is also design. Design is everywhere and anywhere. It's a way of living kada. So na interest intermediate lo start ayindi, and I started sketching. I was into sketching a lot, and chinna products ni ideate chesi sketch cheyadamu. And I was also interested in designing posters. So appude Photoshop nerchukoni chinna posters design chesedani. It was not perfect at all, but the interest was in that field. Inka during my bachelor's, various tools and especially Adobe suite of applications were introduced. So I started designing with those tools. So of course interest and curiosity, malona curiosity and creativity eppudu untundi, danni discover, enhance and polish chesindi na bachelor's. So since then I started doing much of it.
Pratyusha, మీరు ఏమన్నారంటే యూ హ్యావ్ ఎన్రోల్డ్ ఫర్ యువర్ బ్యాచిలర్స్ ఇన్ ఏ యూనిక్ కోర్స్. సో అదేంటంటే డిజిటల్ డిజైన్ విత్ కంప్యూటర్ సైన్స్ అన్నారు. సో మనకి డిజిటల్ డిజైన్లో మనకి చాలా డిజైన్స్ ఉంటాయి, లైక్ గ్రాఫిక్ డిజైన్ కానీ, యూఐ యూఎక్స్ కానీ, లేకపోతే ప్యాకేజింగ్ డిజైన్, లోగో డిజైన్. సో ఇట్లాగా మనకి చాలా డొమైన్స్ ఉంటాయి అనమాట డిజిటల్ డిజైన్లో. సో మీరు మీ యొక్క జర్నీని స్టార్ట్ అయినప్పుడు మీరు ఏ డొమైన్లో స్టార్ట్ చేశారు?
So as I already told, our majors was in visual communication design, which comprises of graphic design and filmmaking and various visual formats lo designs ni express cheyadam. So it's a branch in communication design. So na entire bachelor's was in communication design is what we can say. So that was my domain.
అంటే మీ యొక్క బ్యాచిలర్స్ డిగ్రీలో మీరు విజువల్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ డిజైన్లో పర్సూ చేశారు?
Yes, exactly.
సో లెట్స్ నౌ టాక్ అబౌట్ యువర్ బ్యాచిలర్స్ డిగ్రీ. సో మీరు మీ యొక్క బ్యాచిలర్స్ డిగ్రీలో ఉన్నప్పుడు మీరు చాలా ఇంటర్న్షిప్స్ చేశారన్నారు, అలాగే ఐ హోప్ యూ డిడ్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ ఆల్సో. సో ఆ యొక్క ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ చేయడానికి ఖచ్చితంగా మన దగ్గర స్కిల్స్ ఉండాలి. సో వితౌట్ స్కిల్స్ వీ కాంట్ బిల్డ్ ద ప్రాజెక్ట్స్. సో మీరు మీ యొక్క బ్యాచిలర్స్ డిగ్రీలో ఉన్నప్పుడు సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద స్కిల్స్ యూ గెయిన్?
So as I told, I was a visual communication design student. It was a strong emphasis on learning tools like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, video editing tools. So basically we were given always a problem. Our problem ni ideate chesi solution vachaka, a solution ni a format lo aina represent cheyadam anedi the freedom was given to the student. So sometimes we made a solution like as a poster, sometimes we made a video out of it, sometimes it was a handwritten or a hand sketched storyboard. So basically maku tools nerpicharu, problem icharu, and we were free to explore and use and mix and match and use the media. So it was a very multimedia course. So these were the kind of the skills that I learned. Apart from that, we were also taught strategic skills like research and how can we extract data from research, and tools తో దాన్ని కంబైన్ చేసి ఎలా ఫ్రూట్ఫుల్ అవుట్పుట్ ఎలా తీసుకొని రావాలి, అండ్ దోస్ కైండ్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫార్మాట్స్ వర్ ఆల్సో టాట్.
ప్రత్యూష, మీరు చెప్పినట్టుగా సో మీ యొక్క బ్యాచిలర్స్ వచ్చేసి డిజిటల్ డిజైన్ ఆర్ విజువల్ కమ్యూనికేషన్. సో మనకి విజువల్ కమ్యూనికేషన్లో నాకు చెప్పినట్టు మనకి చాలా ఫీల్డ్స్ అయితే ఉంటాయి, కానీ ఏ ఫీల్డ్ చూసుకున్నా మనకి ఫండమెంటల్స్ అనేది సేమ్ ఉంటాయి అనమాట. సో ఎవరైనా సరే ఒకళ్ళు కొత్తగా డిజైన్ నేర్చుకోవటం స్టార్ట్ చేశారనుకుందాం, సో వాళ్ళకి మ్యాండేటరీగా నేర్చుకోవాలని చెప్పేసి మీరు ఏమేమి ఫండమెంటల్స్ని మీరు రికమెండ్ చేస్తారు?
సో ఐ థింక్ డిజైన్ ఈజ్ అ వెరీ ఫ్లెక్సిబుల్ సబ్జెక్ట్. ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్, one of the most important tool is to understand the problem better. Like a problem well understood is a problem half solved. So try to understand the problem at hand better and research more about that problem. So our domain enti, our domain users evaru, our users gurinchi research, and lot of research goes into understanding that problem. And once you start going towards the solution, ideation kosam you need to have certain skills, right? For example, we can have software skills like tools like Figma, Photoshop or Illustrator. And one thing that anyone and everyone should know is basic sketching. I don't think everyone should be a great fine artist or a sketch artist, but a basic design, basic sketching is like really important for every designer. It helps you rapidly prototype something and share and sketch your ideas into reality very fast. So I think basic sketching is really important. Other than that, equipping yourself with current standards and principles of design, elements of design, some concepts and theories of design could be helpful. So all of this is again available on the internet. A simple Google search will take you to places like great literature books by Dan Saffer or Jesse James Garrett or any other great designers. We can have people should actually refer to Medium for a lot of conceptual clarity, and places like Behance has such great visual inspirations. So yeah, I mean, using these to our advantage I think is very crucial.
ప్రత్యూష, సో మీరు మీ యొక్క బ్యాచిలర్స్లో ఉన్నప్పుడు మీరు కొన్ని ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ అయితే చేశారు. సో ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ చేసిన తర్వాత లైక్ మనం ఏదైనా ఇంటర్న్షిప్కి అప్లై చేయాలన్నా ఆర్ ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు అప్లై టు ఎనీ పర్టికులర్ జాబ్, సో మనకి ఖచ్చితంగా ఒక పోర్ట్ఫోలియో అనేది ఉండాలి ఫర్ ఏ డిజైనర్ ఎస్పెషల్లీ. యాజ్ ఎ బిగినర్గా మీరు మీ యొక్క పోర్ట్ఫోలియో ఏ వెబ్సైట్లో చేశారు, ఆర్ ఏ సాఫ్ట్వేర్లో కానీ లేకపోతే ఏ టూల్లో మీరు మీ యొక్క పోర్ట్ఫోలియో బిల్డ్ చేశారు?
సో నేను స్టార్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు, ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ వెన్ వీఆర్ స్టార్టింగ్ వీఆర్ వెరీ యంగ్, ఐ వాజ్ జస్ట్ స్టార్టింగ్ విత్ మై బ్యాచులర్. సో అప్పుడు నాకు టూల్స్ తెలీదు. సో ఐ స్టార్టెడ్ కంపైలింగ్ మై వర్క్ ఇన్ లైక్ అ బేసిక్ పవర్ పాయింట్, అండ్ దెన్ ఐ వెంట్ టు పీడిఎఫ్. సో కంబైన్ చేసే వర్క్ అంతా ఒక పీడిఎఫ్లో పెట్టి వెన్ ఎవర్ సమ్వన్ ఆస్క్డ్ ఇట్, ఐ యూస్ టు గివ్ ఇట్ టు దెమ్. లేటర్ ఐ గాట్ ఇంట్రడ్యూస్డ్ టు ప్లాట్ఫామ్స్ లైక్ Behance and very other good platforms similar to Behance. So I started uploading case studies of my projects into those platforms. Then as my understanding of the design field and also how other things work like convenience kani, and several other professionalism also comes into picture. So I started making a website of my own. I started with a very free website. I started with Adobe Portfolio, which is a free website. You can access it and create your portfolio. As now that I'm a master's student, I decided to make it into a professional and a standard like a format. So I made a portfolio website. So I think format should never be a limitation. Just portfolio is nothing but a way to show your collection of your projects and your ideas and thoughts. So any format which comes very simple to you, meek easy ga anpichindi, meek easy ga access unnadi, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Whatever comes natural and easy to you, just use that to your advantage and mee works anni compile chesi. And portfolio ante people think that final products e chupichali or polished stuff e chupichali ani. It's not about that. It's about showing your progress from that day one that you decided to become a designer to the day that you are applying to something. So entire journey ni encapsulate chestu your journey should be evidently visible in that portfolio. So it's basically your entire story that you are compiling and sharing it across when you're applying to something.
Prathyusha, so మీరు ఇందాక ఫస్ట్ స్టార్టింగ్ క్వశ్చన్ లోనే చెప్పారు లైక్ యూ డిడ్ ఇంటర్న్షిప్ ఇన్ ఎవ్రీ సెమిస్టర్. సో టోటల్ గా మీరు ఎన్ని ఇంటర్న్షిప్స్ చేశారు మీ యొక్క బ్యాచిలర్స్ లో?
I think I did around 4 to 5 internships and some freelance projects also. it was not like a ante mandatory అయితే కాదు కానీ my faculty and my HOD and everyone encouraged us to do more internships because akkade practical ga learning ayyedi. So whatever we learned in the semester, say a tool or a concept or something, దానికి ప్రాక్టికల్ యూజ్ మాత్రం ఇంటర్న్షిప్కి వెళ్ళాక తెలిసేది. సో డైరెక్ట్ if you don't know much about the field of design, then you cannot get a really you cannot get a job at a big firm or like some big organization, but you can always get job from your, like, you can always get freelance projects, or you can always get a job at a startup which is starting up. So నేను approach చేసి LinkedIn లో I used to approach to a lot of startups and ask like, hey, can I do a design for you? And they used to be like, we cannot pay you much. So at that time, my focus was on learning more. So I used to agree on, not that everyone should agree, but like I was fortunate enough to do projects without monetary benefits. Sometimes with like it was not a very big project; it was a very small, just visiting card design cheyadam. So I still remember my first project was to design a visiting card for my senior. So I was paid very minimally to it, but I wanted to put my Photoshop skill into use. So నేను Photoshop నేర్చుకున్నాను, Photoshopతో యూజ్ చేస్తూ some project చేసేసి ఇచ్చేసాను కూడా. So I felt really good about it. I think it's about cultivating that skill. So
ప్రత్యూష, లైక్ ఈ డేస్లో చూసుకున్నట్లయితే సో ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి కూడా జాబ్ నేను తొందరగా తెచ్చుకోవాలని చాలా ఫాస్ట్గా ఉంటారనమాట. నేను డైరెక్ట్గా జాబ్లోకి వెళ్ళిపోవాలని చెప్పేసి. సో కొంతమంది ఏం చేస్తారంటే దే విల్ స్కిప్ ద ఇంటర్న్షిప్స్. సో అకార్డింగ్ టు యూ, సో ఎవరైనా సరే ఒక ఫ్రెషర్గా లేకపోతే న్యూలీ డిజైన్గా నేర్చుకుంటున్నారు అనుకోండి, సో వాళ్ళు ఇంటర్న్షిప్ చేయటం ఇంపార్టెంటా కాదా? సో ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్, వాళ్ళు ఏ సెక్టర్లో చేస్తే వాళ్ళు ఎక్కువ స్కిల్స్ గెయిన్ చేయొచ్చు?
I really think internship chala important because it is a time when you are not fully committed and you are basically free to make mistakes. So you're already a designer who is very free and you have like boundless creativity. So dani first day velli box chesi you're a payroll employee and cheppesi you don't want to box yourself. You want to go as an intern and explore, leverage that freedom and make mistakes as much as you can. Not necessarily you have to make mistakes, but if you make mistakes, that's okay because you'll learn a lot in the process. And it's also like limited time commitment. So if you know that internship is for 3 months, you can explore that particular domain for 3 months. 3 months tarvata nachakapothe it's an internship, so it will end in some days. So you can so what I used to do is I started my internship with a grocery app company. So it was designing an app for grocery, so food segment, and it was dealing with Horeca sector. But then I realized that I'm not much interested into that domain. So next semester I tried to avoid that domain. I was like, okay, I have already designed something, I have some basic understanding, let's try some other interesting domain. So I started interning with a company which dealt with AI and ML. I was always fascinated with technology, so I found a perfect match there. So I think it's about that commitment that you want to give yourself. I will explore as much as I can until I find something that I really like.
So Prathyusha, like you did your bachelor's in visual communication design. Now you are working as a UI UX designer at Adobe. So like how did that shift happen from visual communication to UI UX?
Very interesting question actually. Even I wonder when I sit back and think. Sometimes I started with graphic design, I also explored VFX, came back to graphic design, and finally so graduate avangane my first job was as a visual designer intern at a leading startup in AI/ML field called Aptogrim. So there I was free to explore, and I joined as a visual designer, but I was involved in designing products in the field of AI and ML. So there I learned that my skills are better suited for the field of interaction design or UX design. I really loved doing research, and so the stark difference between graphic design and UX design is basically graphic design chesinappudu you only design for the communication aspect of something. So you're just displaying information, you're communicating with the user. But user when makes a decision and wants to interact with the product, that is when the UX design starts. You want to design products where there is a dialogue between the user and the product. So that is where I realized that my skills are better suited for that field, and I was very interested in knowing more and more every day. I transitioned as a UX designer in the same company where I got freedom to explore that field, and that is when I fell in love with UX design.
So Prathyusha, like now we will talk about your learnings from NID బెంగళూరు. సో ఎన్ఐడి కోసం వీ విల్ డూ అనదర్ పాడ్కాస్ట్. సో ఇన్ కేస్ మీరు ఎన్ఐడిలో ఇంటరాక్షన్ డిజైన్ ని మీరు పర్సూ చేయాలి అనుకుంటే సో ప్లీజ్ వెయిట్ ఫర్ దట్ పాడ్కాస్ట్. సో ప్రత్యూష, నౌ వీ విల్ గెట్ బ్యాక్ టు యువర్ ఎన్ఐడి లెర్నింగ్స్. సో బేసికల్లీ మనకి వేరే ఏ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్స్లో అయినా మనకి మాస్టర్స్ వచ్చేసి 2 years ఉంటుంది, కానీ ఎన్ఐడిలో ఏంటంటే మనకి 2.5 years ఉంటుంది. సో ఈ యొక్క 2.5 yearsని మనం అకాడమిక్స్ పరంగా హౌ ఇట్ విల్ బి డివైడెడ్?
So basically 2.5 years ఎందుకంటే first as usual we have 2 semesters per year. There are 2 years, and the 0.5 year, that is the 5th semester, is an internship with the industry. So it can be an internship or it can be a self-sponsored project as well. So basically you are doing your graduation project or a thesis, and you will be submitting at the end of 6 months. So that additional months is to implement what you have been learning in those 2 years at NID. So the graduation project is the extra there.
సో మీరు ఇప్పుడే చెప్పారు కదా, సో ఫస్ట్ 2 years వచ్చేసి మీరు స్కిల్స్ అవన్నీ కూడా నేర్చుకుంటారు, అండ్ ఇన్ ద లాస్ట్ సెమిస్టర్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ ఎన్ ఇంటర్న్షిప్. సో ఆల్రెడీ మీరు మీ యొక్క ఎన్ఐడిలో మీరు 2 years అయితే కంప్లీట్ చేశారు. సో ఈ యొక్క 2 yearsలో లైక్ వాట్ ఆర్ ద స్కిల్స్ యూ గెయిన్, అండ్ ఎన్ఐడి మీకు మెయిన్గా ఏ సబ్జెక్ట్ మీద ఎక్కువగా ఫోకస్ పెట్టింది?
I'll start with the second question first because it was very fascinating. I started, as I told, I was a very visual person, and aesthetics ki ent importance design lo undo anta I used to love everything about it. But when I went to NID, I learned the research, the importance of research and data driven design, and there is a lot of emphasis on design process, the way you start the problem, the way you understand the problem, the way you ideate, and the way you test the product out. So the entire life cycle of designing a product is played a lot of emphasis on. So design thinking becomes very important. Coming back to your first question, what are the skills that I learned as a part of NID was, since I joined there as wanting to learn interaction design, I learned skills which are relevant to interaction design. So in the first semester, we are focusing on the fundamentals of design in general. What are the principles that are required to design something, and basics of design basically. As you go and progress from first semester to second semester, you are taught what exactly is interaction design and how is it different from UX, and overall the overarching understanding of the term HCI, the human computer interaction. There you are taught different modalities and different types of interfaces that can exist. In every semester we have something called design project, which is about 8 to 10 weeks. So in those weeks you are free to explore whatever problem that you like. There is usually a theme that is given. For example, the second semester is about exploring a graphical user interface. So we take a problem and try to design a solution using a graphical user interface. In the third semester, in the second year, we are encouraged to think about virtual reality or augmented reality, and we are encouraged to use newer modalities other than graphics. So if it's not visual, then can it be auditory? Can it be tangible? So we are exploring other modalities. Towards fourth semester, we are introduced service design and system thinking. So it's a bit broader when it comes to fourth year. So that is how it starts. It starts with the basic, and then we are building things on top of it. And at the end, you're expected to apply all of that and produce like a graduation project.
ప్రత్యూష, when we take NID, సో NID ఏంటంటే స్పెసిఫిక్గా డిజైన్ కోసం ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేసిన ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్. అదే మనకి అదర్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్స్ లైక్ ఐఐటీస్లో తీసుకుంటే మనకి టెక్నాలజీ కోర్సెస్, ఇంజనీరింగ్ కోర్సెస్ యాజ్ వెల్ యాజ్ డిజైన్ కోర్సెస్ కూడా ఉంటాయి. కానీ NID ఏంటంటే స్పెసిఫిక్గా డిజైన్ కోసమే ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేసిన ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్. సో అకార్డింగ్ టు యూ, how is NID learning experience different from other institutes? సో దీనికి మీ ఆన్సర్ ఏంటి?
So interesting question actually, because why I chose NID was mainly because I can learn from design leaders and industry leaders, and the way the curriculum of NID is structured is very different from other institutes. I also came from bachelors in design, so I know a certain type of the way design is taught, but it differed very much from the way NID teaches. So when I came to NID, it was almost like a culture shock. Enti ila chadvistara design ni enti, because first of all that we need to understand is it's a very limited class size. So we had 19 people in each batch in each discipline. So interaction design had around 15 students, and all of us came from varied backgrounds. So some of my friends were from architecture, some were from engineering, some were from biology background, some were fashion designers. So the first thing which was very evident was we were able to learn a lot from each other. So peer-to-peer learning ki emphasis chestaru, and faculty are also very much ready to guide you, because the ratio to faculty to students is very less. There are only 15 people and there is a lot of teacher focus on you. So you're also learning with the help of teachers' guidance, and you're surrounded with like-minded people. So everyone around you is like you. So everyone wants to explore the same things, and it's very nice to hear different perspectives as well. I think the way design is taught at NID is quite different from other institutes, and that is what is the attraction point there.
Prathyusha, now let us get into your UI UX journey. సో టిపికల్లీ మనకి UI UX కి ఒక డిజైన్ ప్రాసెస్ అనేది ఉంటుంది. సో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఈ క్వశ్చన్కి, సో లెట్ సపోజ్ యు ఆర్ డిజైనింగ్ అన్ వెబ్సైట్ ఫర్ మై ఛానల్. బేసికల్లీ నా ఛానల్లో కాలేజెస్ గురించి, ఎగ్జామ్స్ గురించి, కెరియర్స్ గురించి ఉంటాయి. సో ఈ యొక్క ఛానల్కి ఒకవేళ మీరు వెబ్సైట్ డిజైన్ చేయాలి అనుకుంటే, సో హౌ ఈజ్ యువర్ డిజైన్ ప్రాసెస్ లుక్ లైక్?
I like that you have given a use case also. That is very important in design to, which helps us narrow down. So మీరు ఒకవేళ డిజైన్, వెబ్సైట్ డిజైన్ ఎలా చేస్తారు అంటే దాని ఆన్సర్ డిఫరెంట్ అయ్యేది, వర్సెస్ మీరు ఏమన్నారంటే నా కోసం. సో దర్ ఇస్ ఆల్రెడీ యూజర్ ఇన్ ప్లేస్, దర్ ఇస్ ఆల్సో యూజ్ కేస్ ఇన్ ప్లేస్, అండ్ మీరు ఫార్మాట్ కూడా డిసైడ్ చేశారు. సో ఇట్స్ వెబ్సైట్. So my design process usually varies from project to project. For this, I would ideally start understanding the domain better, understanding the user better. So what is your channel about? What kind of content do you post? How are you standing out compared to your competitors? So a good amount of landscape analysis there. So competitors research chesta, and I will try to identify points that will highlight you than your competitors. The most important things is to have a brand identity, or like a visual identity. So a logo design chesta, and all the brand styling in terms of color and typography and imagery used will be reflecting the content that you will be posting in your channel. And after, so basically all of this is research, right? So so I can categorize this journey and like into different phases. The first phase would be research. The second phase would be understanding more about the user, the user journey, and how should we plan for the user to flow through your website. So what is the user flow like, journey, and I'll model that data, and then I'll start with ideation quickly and wireframes and rapid prototype certain things and show it to you because you're my client. So you also have to put in your feedback. So that is mainly important to have feedbacks of your stakeholders in place so that you can modify and iterate your own solution. After the design, I would also then I'll go ahead and design, and I'll use different principles like color theory, typography, and type of imagery used and everything. And I'll also, the one thing that is always present in my designs and I make sure everyone should do is testing. So how does your design how is your design standing? You must have had certain expectations from your design. So post design, I also conduct a formative research and like a summative research and understanding users ki nenu anukunnadi ardhamainda. So probably I will use methods like eye tracking or heat maps, and I'll understand ekkada users click chestunnaru, ekkada users click cheyatledu. So I will iterate my design and place my elements then and there in those places. And I mean, this should give me good data to redesign. And I say always that design is a cyclic process. So I'll go back to my drawing board, I'll adjust those things, and I'll make the website again. And again, it'll go live. We will have some feedback. It's a cyclic process.
So Prathyusha, like finally, like you did like your 2 years of masters. So now it's time for the internship. So ఈ యొక్క ఇంటర్న్షిప్లో ఖచ్చితంగా we have to like submit our portfolio. సో మీరు మీ యొక్క అడ్మిషన్ NIDలో తీసుకునేటప్పుడు కూడా మీరు like you have to show your portfolio. సో అప్పటికి ఇప్పటికీ మీ యొక్క పోర్ట్ఫోలియోలో ఏమైనా చేంజెస్ చేశారా, లేదా సేమ్ పోర్ట్ఫోలియో ఉందా?
Yes, I've made changes.
So Prathyusha, like total how many projects you have included in your portfolio for the Adobe interview?
So for specifically interviewing at Adobe, I had around 4 major projects, and I think that should be a golden rule for everyone. Have 4 to 5 or 3 to 4 major projects. Anything that you did apart from that, our projects ni meeru additional projects kindaki categorize cheseyochu, but have the focus on around 4 to 5 projects should be good.
అండ్ చాలా మంది కంటెంట్ క్రియేటర్స్ కానీ లేకపోతే వేరే డిజైనర్స్ ఏమంటారు అంటే, వెన్ వీఆర్ బిల్డింగ్ అ పోర్ట్ఫోలియో మన యొక్క ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ అనేది డైవర్స్గా ఉండాలని చెప్పేసి అంటారు. సో మీరు కూడా మీ యొక్క ప్రాజెక్ట్స్లో లైక్ వాట్ ఆర్ ద టైప్ ఆఫ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఇంక్లూడెడ్ ఇన్ యువర్ పోర్ట్ఫోలియో?
I think నేను agree చేస్తాను. We need to have like a very diverse portfolio to, I think, just to showcase that I am very flexible enough to be able to do anything that you want to see. So diversity in terms of choice of problem, diversity in terms of format of design, say websites versus applications and mobile applications. So specifically, I only compiled my projects that I did at NID. So every semester I had projects. So I had projects related to graphical user interface. I had projects which were only tangible and physical product designs. I had projects which were related to mixed reality and virtual reality. So I had a combination of these projects, and all of them were from different industries. Like one of my projects was related to content creation. Other was related to last mile logistics and supply chain management. I know it sounds quite boring, but it's all in the way. It's about the way you solve the problem than the problem itself, right? And one was in the healthcare domain. So yeah.
Prathyusha, now we will go to your Adobe interview experience and your journey at Adobe. So apart from Adobe, మీరు ఇంకా ఏమేమి కంపెనీస్ కి అప్లై చేశారు ఫర్ ద ఇంటర్న్షిప్?
So this was part of the placement drive at NID. So I had applied to all the great companies that had come that time. So నేను apply and I was fortunate enough to get selected at several companies, including Samsung, Bajaj Finserv, ServiceNow, Disney Plus Hotstar, InfoEdge, and Adobe. So all of those companies had certain things in common that I had kept in mind and applied. These were the companies that I applied to.
So now we will talk about your interview experience. So మనకి టోటల్ గా అడోబ్ ఇంటర్న్షిప్ కి హౌ మెనీ రౌండ్స్ విల్ బి దేర్?
We had 2 rounds, but
so as you said, you will be have 2 rounds for Adobe. So can you share your interview experience for the Adobe internship?
My experience was very challenging yet rewarding at the end. We had around 2 rounds. The first round was technical round, and the second one was whiteboarding challenge. In the first round, we were asked to we were free to explain our portfolio and take them through any project of our choice. So I think that our flexibility was very nice, and they were asking us to choose any project and explain about that. What stood out was they were wanting to know about me more than my portfolio. They wanted to know na hobbies elantivi, and what kind of things that I watch, and what kind of things that I like about my the place where I stay. So they tried to ease me into the interview, and then I was explaining my portfolio to them. In terms of technical questions, they asked me the reason, the decisions behind certain things, like why did you choose a particular font, why did you choose this particular typeface, or why did you choose this particular color. They were wanting to know those kinds of technicalities, and they were also wanting to see my design thinking and my my journey of starting with the problem and towards the solution. So they were seeing a lot of my design process. In the second round, it was a whiteboarding challenge. So they gave me an app, and I was open to critique that app. And it was a very conversational interview, I would say. It was not at all intimidating. It was very refreshing to have such kind of interview.
So Prathyusha, మీరు ఇందా చెప్పారు కదా, you were selected for Samsung, Bajaj Finserv, and few other companies. So మీరు Adobe నే స్పెసిఫిక్ గా ఎందుకు చూస్ చేసుకుంటారు?
I think one reason that anyone would say is I grew up with products of Adobe, and I was a fan of their Photoshop and Premiere Pro. I still love Premiere Pro so much, so I think that was the reason.
So finally, you cracked the internship at Adobe. After you cracking the internship, what was your role at Adobe?
I was a design intern in the team of Adobe Acrobat. So I was trying to enhance their generative AI experience for Adobe Acrobat users. So that was my role, and it was a 6-month internship.
Okay. So మీ యొక్క internship లో what are the skills you gained? అంటే మీరు అక్కడ ఏమేమి నేర్చుకున్నారు?
So apart from the basic things that everyone learns, tool or design understanding and concepts and everything, one thing that I mainly learned is how to talk to your peers and get feedback, and how to incorporate that feedback into your design. I was encouraged to speak during brainstorming sessions. We had a lot of garage sessions or brainstorming sessions where we were ideating for a problem at hand. So how to take feedback of your peers and incorporate that into the design, and how to speak up for your product, or stakeholder collaboration and cross-team collaboration, and those sort of soft skills was what I really enjoyed learning, apart from, of course, the basic things that are like some concepts were strengthened after going there, and my mentors and my colleagues helped me in understanding the basic concepts also, without looking down. I used to ask every sort of dumb question or any sort of question that I had, any curious question, and they were really open to answer whatever it was.
So you have completed your internship at Adobe. So after that, you got PPO at Adobe. So how did you get that PPO? Like how you converted internship into PPO?
I think that is up to the people who selected me, but I made sure that I was living up to the expectations, and I was able to deliver what was expected of me. And basically, I got a problem. An entire 6 months I was solving a problem, and it got converted into a very good product at the end. So it was satisfactory for them and me, and that is how I got the PPO opportunity. And yeah, several other factors that can determine that also.
సో ప్రత్యూష ఎవరైనా సరే వాళ్ళ యొక్క జర్నీని స్టార్ట్ చేశారు అనుకుందాం. సో వాళ్ళ యొక్క మెయిన్ గోల్ ఏంటంటే దే హ్యావ్ టు గెట్ ఏ జాబ్ ఇన్ ప్రొడక్ట్ బేస్డ్ కంపెనీ. సో ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి ఏంటంటే నేను మంచి ప్రొడక్ట్ బేస్డ్ కంపెనీలో నేను జాయిన్ అవ్వాలి అని చెప్పేసి ప్రతి ఒక్కరు కూడా ఒక డ్రీమ్ ఉంటుంది. ఎట్ ద టైమ్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ రికార్డింగ్ Adobe వాల్యూ ఈస్ అరౌండ్ $190 billion. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ సచ్ ఎ బిగ్ కంపెనీ. సో ఎవరైనా సరే ఇట్లాగా పెద్ద పెద్ద కంపెనీస్లో ఇంటర్న్షిప్ గెయిన్ చేయాలి అంటే, లేకపోతే ఇంటర్న్షిప్ తెచ్చుకోవాలి అంటే, సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద స్కిల్స్ దే షుడ్ హ్యావ్ టు గెట్ ఇంటర్న్షిప్ ఇన్ ప్రొడక్ట్ బేస్డ్ కంపెనీ అకార్డింగ్ టు యూ?
I think first of all, be it product based or consulting or like any B2B or B2C, whatever type of the company or scale of the company, be it a startup or a big size company, fundamental or golden principle should be to have a good portfolio at hand. And when I say good, it's a very subjective term. What I mean is have projects that are truly representation of your design thinking ability, and explore problem solving, explore the length and breadth of it, and try to show your skills through various projects, and have a couple of projects at hand, polish them and present them using a very good document them in a very good format, and present those case studies and combine those case studies together and have a portfolio. One other thing which is really important is branding. So how do you position yourself as a designer? What kind of a designer are you? Meeku some people వాళ్ళ logo కూడా design చేసుకుంటారు. So I think that's a good thing. It's a fun thing. They're having fun with their own design ability. So they design their own logo, they design their own cover pages and everything. So branding is also very important. How do you position yourself as a designer? How do you collate your projects, and how do you document them? And one key thing is storytelling. So how do you convey and share your portfolio, or you walk them through your portfolio in a storytelling format? I don't want to know what kind of processes that you used, but I want to know what was the story behind it, or how you landed. So I think one key tip I can give is use a 3-act structure while narrating anything. Start with what was the problem and how did you discover it, and there should be a climax to that problem where you felt like, and these are the opportunities and I'm going to design for them, and then run them through your solution. So follow a 3-act structure to make your storytelling interesting. And of course aesthetics are underrated, but it is really important. Present your work really better and really good. So these are some of the tips that I would like to give.
సో ప్రత్యూష ఇందాక ప్రీవియస్ క్వశ్చన్లో కూడా యూ సెడ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ సాల్వింగ్, అండ్ ఈ క్వశ్చన్లో కూడా మీరు ఏం చెప్పారు అంటే యూ హ్యావ్ టు బి ఏ గుడ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్ సాల్వర్. సో వేర్ కెన్ వి ఫైండ్ దిస్ డిజైన్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్? ఇస్ దర్ ఎనీ పర్టికులర్ వెబ్సైట్స్, ఆర్ హౌ కెన్ వి ఫైండ్ ద డిజైన్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్?
Design is a way of living, right? So it's a way of life. So your problems are around you. So it can be a very small problem, like today I'm recording podcast, right? So how can I make this experience for myself better? Am I introducing a new product that can hold my phone and make this experience better for me? Or what are the problems that I encounter on a day-to-day basis? Very small problem to a very large problem. This can be one method of finding, problems around us. The second method is obviously reading a lot of material online. What are the current trends? So ఇప్పుడు అందరూ generative AI గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నారు కదా. So understanding about generative AI, where can a designer add value in it? Already technology ఉంది, so how can they take that and give it to users in a better format? So how are you trying to solve problems with existing technologies, or the industry challenges are also there. For example, one of my projects about last mile logistics was stemming from there. There is a big gap of products ఎప్పుడైనా రిటర్న్ వెళ్ళినప్పుడు that reverse logistics costs a lot of money to the company. So I was trying to tackle that big industrial problem. So that can be, your problems can be at that level. Your problems can be at a systemic level as well. Systemic level as in it's a big system that is involved. For example, I was designing a product which involved మన గిగ్ వర్కర్స్ ఉంటారు కదా, డెలివరీ గైస్ కానీ మన ఊబర్ డ్రైవర్స్. సో ఆల్ ఆఫ్ దోస్ పీపుల్ ఆర్ they are the new they are the future of India. I mean, in terms of employment and the labor law, like they are something which is, that sector is which is, it is very new. So there are no laws in India for gig workers. So it is stemming from a legal perspective. Legal India lo they are not recognized. So I took that as a problem, and so how can we design a system where it recognizes their hard work as well as వాళ్ళు మనకి సర్వీస్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేసేటప్పుడు వాళ్ళ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ని మనం ఎలా సాల్వ్ చేయగలం. సో ఇట్ కెన్ బి it can be at any level. So that is what I mean. It can be as small as finding a problem around you, and it can be as big as solving problem for the government of India or for space, or it can be anything. So
you have started your journey like 5 to 6 years back. So I hope like you learn like a lot of tools. So present వచ్చేసి మీ యొక్క డే టు డే లైఫ్లో, సో like what are the tools you use?
For specifically UX design, I rely on Figma like anyone else. It truly helps me in everything. So yeah, I rely on Figma a lot. I also use Photoshop from day-to-day basis for other purposes, for designing graphics and stuff. Adobe Illustrator is also what I use for illustrations. I also use Procreate on my iPad for sketching quick things and creating storyboards or small knickknacks here and there.
సో ప్రత్యూష, లైక్ దీస్ డేస్లో చూసుకున్నట్లయితే సో ఎవ్రీథింగ్ వాజ్ రివాల్వింగ్ అరౌండ్ ఏఐ. సో డిజైనర్స్ కూడా లైక్ చాలా మంది ఏమనుకుంటున్నారంటే లైక్ ఇఫ్ యూ గివ్ ఏ ప్రాంప్ట్, ఏఐ వాజ్ జనరేటింగ్ ఇమేజ్. సో లైక్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్ వాట్ దే ఆర్ థింకింగ్ ఈస్ లైక్ ఏఐ విల్ రిప్లేస్ ద డిజైనర్స్. సో చాలా మంది అలా అనుకుంటున్నారు. సో లైక్ మీరు డే టు డే లైఫ్లో మీరు ఏఐని యూస్ చేస్తారా? ఇన్ కేస్ యూస్ చేస్తే లైక్ వాట్ ఆర్ ద వెబ్సైట్స్ ఆర్ వాట్ ఆర్ ద టూల్స్ యూ యూస్?
Yeah, I think that question is always there, that fight between human and AI, and will AI replace designers? I think not in the near future, not at all in the near future, but we can use it as a tool to, enhance our own capabilities. For example, I like writing, but sometimes I also struggle with writing content. So I use a lot of ChatGPT, and Claude is a very good tool. So I use these for content writing. At the same time, sometimes I use for storyboarding, I want to use images, but I don't want to use the real images because maintaining privacy of my users is important. So I use image generation tools like Adobe Firefly or Copilot and those kinds of tools to generate images and replace that with the real images. Sometimes it's also video editing. Even in Premiere Pro, there is generative AI that has come up. So lot of నేను యూజ్ చేసే యాప్స్లోనే జెనరేటివ్ AI is seamlessly blending in, so that is also interesting. So yeah, these are the places that I use generative AI in.
So Prathyusha, like you have started your journey like a long back. So ఈ యొక్క like 5 to 6 years లో like is there any challenges like you have faced while designing, like రీసెర్చింగ్ కానీ, బ్రాండింగ్ కానీ, ప్రోటోటైపింగ్ కానీ, లైక్ ఏమైనా ఛాలెంజెస్ మీరు ఫేస్ చేశారా?
Challenges అయితే like everyone and anyone faces in any field. So specifically the problems that I remember is during research, మనకి మన యూజర్స్తో యాక్సెస్ లేనప్పుడు how do we design for them? For example, if we are designing for communities, so one of the times when I was working at a startup, we designed a product for visually impaired people. So how can I interview certain people without making them feel without even making them feel different, or how can I make them feel inclusive while interviewing? So that can be one way of not able to access users to the full capacity. Sometimes we are designing for people in different geographical locations. So say Gulf region lo unna vallaki nenu ikkada kuchoni ela design cheyagalnu. I cannot talk to them if I am not able to talk. So users access లేనప్పుడు వాళ్ళ గురించి రీసెర్చ్ చేసి డిజైన్ చేయడం is one of the biggest challenges that any designer faces. I also faced it. So one way I usually bypass that problem is to design your alternate method. So for example, if you cannot access users, try to find data online. There is a plenty of literature and secondary secondary research can be done based on that. for example, if your users are present, but if they're, say, uneducated, so how do you ask questions? Or there's a language barrier. So you can take a friend with you, or you can design your questions in a visual format, or format that is understandable for them, not necessarily using English kani, Telugu kani, but language barrier అయినప్పుడు ఎలా మీరు దాన్ని సాల్వ్ చేస్తారు. సో ఐడెంటిఫైయింగ్, సో బేసిక్లీ జుగాడ్ టెక్నిక్స్ యూజ్ చేసి దాన్ని మీరు డేటాని ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేయగలరు. So these are some of the biggest challenges I always feel, how to get closer to your users.
Do you use any specific websites like for design research?
It depends on, so when it comes to domain research, if I'm researching about a particular topic, I would definitely go to websites related to that. But if you are asking about research methods, yeah, there are such as Interaction Design Foundation website, Nielsen Norman Group. These are some websites where you can learn about IDEO 54 car method. So IDEO kanivani, these websites have really good research methods that you can refer to and learn.
సో ప్రత్యూష, let us consider ఒక పర్సన్ రీసెంట్గా UI UX డిజైన్ నేర్చుకోవడం స్టార్ట్ చేశాడు అనుకున్నా. సో వాట్ ఈస్ ద బెస్ట్ పీస్ ఆఫ్ అడ్వైస్ యూ విల్ గివ్ టు హిమ్?
So I always tell anyone who approaches me how to get started with UX design, or what are some tips that you would like to give me. I always say, have a good understanding about the foundation of UX design. Have a basic I mean, it's underrated, but learn theories, concepts, and principles related to UX design. That is the first step that anyone should, that's like a rite of passage that everyone should go through. And one of the biggest thing is not force fitting a lot of things. Don't go to Behance and see that certain people have used certain methods. So it's so for example, I always say that you not necessarily have to create an information architecture all the time. Sometimes in beginner portfolios we see that there is a sort of checkbox like, oh, I did this, so there is information architecture, there is user flow and everything. You don't have to force fit your design process into those templates. Your design problem is yours. You know what's best suited for that. Sometimes it's a very short process, sometimes it's a very long process, and you have to use multiple methods. But don't get into this cookie cutter or like a template mentality. I think you know your problem better, and of course you can refer to certain methods and you can try to implement them, but don't try to force fit certain concepts, is what I say. And of course, like, all the best for your future. Like, UX design is something which is very dynamically changing, so please keep yourself updated, because it's very dependent on technology. Like ippudu mundu UX was very different than the UX today, because now there is generative AI, there is like so many other technologies that has come up even after generative AI. So keep yourself updated with the trends in terms of technology or design or styles, etc.
So Prathyusha, this is the final question for this podcast, like how someone can contact you.
So I think anyone can contact me on LinkedIn. I think that's the best place to contact anyone, actually. So you can search for Lakshmi Prathyusha. I'll be available there. You can also check out my portfolio. It's pratyusha.in. So yeah, these are the places. I'm also active on Instagram and Behance, and yeah, these are some of the places you can contact me.
Yeah. So guys, I will provide Pratyusha's social media handles in the description. సో ఎవరైనా సరే మీరు ప్రత్యూషాని కాంటాక్ట్ అవ్వాలి అంటే సో కింద లింక్స్ని క్లిక్ చేసి మీరైతే కాంటాక్ట్ అవ్వచ్చు. సో ప్రత్యూష, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ వన్స్ అగైన్, మీ యొక్క వాల్యుబుల్ టైం నా కోసం అలాగే మా ఆడియన్స్ కోసం మీరు ఇచ్చినందుకు థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ వన్స్ అగైన్.
Thank you so much for having me again. This was a great conversation.